Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into something, well, it sounds less like nature and more like science fiction horror. We're talking about the Green Banded Brood Sac, Leucochloridium paradoxum.
Oh, it's an incredible example. Really one of the most sophisticated cases of manipulation you'll find. It's this tiny flatworm, and it absolutely needs two different hosts.
A snail and a bird, right?
Exactly. A land snail first, then a songbird. And yeah, horror spiral is a pretty accurate way to put it.
So our mission today is to figure out how this works. How does this worm, which seems pretty basic, manage to, turn a snail into this flashing, irresistible zombie bait? We want to get into the biology, the cost to the host, and just how this parasitic disco zombie strategy actually succeeds.
Well, the scale of it is pretty fascinating. Its survival really depends on reaching the right kind of bird. The final host, where it matures, has to be from the passerine order.
Songbirds, perching birds.
Right, and that group makes up something like 60% of all bird species globally.
60%. Wow. Okay, so that explains its range then. Europe, North America, Japan. Even South America, potentially.
It picked a winner. Maximum distribution for its eggs. Basically, wherever these birds poop, the cycle can potentially start all over again.
Which brings us to the start of the cycle. And it's not exactly glamorous, is it? Bird droppings. An infected bird poops, the droppings land, and then along comes the snail, the intermediate host.
Yep, the amber snail. That's members of the Succinidae family. And, your first thought is probably, ugh, why would a snail eat that?
Yeah, exactly. What's the appeal?
Pure biology. It's actually a nutrient bomb for the snail. Bird droppings are packed with nitrogen, phosphorus, lots of essential stuff. It's a concentrated meal.
So the snail's just trying to get a good meal, and bam! It accidentally eats thousands of microscopic worm eggs.
That's the moment, and once inside, the invasion plan kicks in immediately. Resource gathering is priority number one.
Okay, so what happens once the eggs are inside?
They hatch pretty quickly in the snail's digestive system. They become the first larval stage, these things called myricidia. They're sort of long, hairy-looking larvae, and they start migrating through the snail's tissues. And here's a key detail. How they feed. They don't have mouths.
No mouths, so how do they eat?
They just absorb nutrients directly through their skin, like a tapeworm in humans, maybe?
Ah, right. Cutaneous absorption, soaking it up.
Exactly. They're bathing in the snail's nutrients and just taking it all in. But then comes the really strategic part, energy diversion.
What do you mean? You mentioned they affect the snail's reproduction.
We do. It's a critical step. The larvae essentially shut down the snail's reproductive system, its gonads.
How? Chemically?
Yeah.
Or do they physically eat them?
It seems to be mainly chemical and physiological manipulation. They suppress or even destroy the reproductive organs. The parasite makes a calculated trade-off. All the energy the snail would have used for making its own eggs or sperm.
Yeah, it gets funneled straight to the growing parasites instead.
Precisely. The snail gets effectively neutered. It stops being a reproductive creature and just becomes a living incubator, a battery solely powering the parasite's growth.
Sacrificing the host's entire future lineage for the parasite's immediate needs? That's efficient and brutal.
It is. Parasitism is often about ruthless efficiency.
Okay, so the parasite has secured its energy source. What's next for these myricidia larvae?
They start to move. They migrate from the main body cavity up towards the snail's head, specifically into the eye stalks.
The optical tentacles.
Yeah.
Right into the eye.
Well, into the stalks behind the eyes. And this is where the big transformation happens. Phase 2, becoming the brood sac. The individual larvae sort of merge and develop into this pulsating tube. It's basically a living bag crammed full of clones, baby worms.
A single sac can hold how many?
Up to 250 larvae in one sac, and a snail can have multiple sacs.
So potentially both eye stalks filled with these pulsating bags.
Yes, and that's when the visual display starts. The brood sac develops these incredible psychedelic pulsating colors.
The green bands, yeah, but also white, red, orange.
Exactly. This is the parasite showing its hand. It's the big reveal.
And this isn't just a side effect, right? The color is the whole point.
Absolutely. This is pure aggressive mimicry. It's designed to be noticed. The parasite wants to be conspicuous. It's imitating something that a songbird really wants to eat.
Like what? What looks like a pulsing psychedelic eye stalk?
A juicy caterpillar. Or a moth larva. Something plump and full of protein. The green bands, the pulsating movement, it's all meant to mimic the look and wriggle of an insect grub.
And the snail's body plays a part here, too. You mentioned amber snails have thin, translucent shells. Does that help the display?
It's crucial. But it's more about the eye stalk tissue itself. The parasite stretches the skin of the eye stalk so incredibly thin that it becomes almost completely see-through.
Like a window.
Exactly, a perfect window. You're literally looking through the snail's own tissue at the parasite performing inside.
Wow. And then there's the pulsing. How fast does it pulse?
It can be really fast, up to 80 times per minute, this constant rhythmic wriggling and flashing.
80 times a minute.
Yeah.
That's designed to scream, "Eat me, I'm alive,"
Oh, yeah.
to any bird flying overhead.
That's the goal. It's the final piece of the visual bait.
Okay, so the visual lure setup, it's bright, it's pulsing, it looks like food. But there's a timing issue, isn't there?
There is, a big one. Snails are mostly active at night, right? To avoid drawing out, avoid predators.
They're nocturnal, but the birds they're trying to attract
are diurnal, active during the day. So a fantastic light show at midnight isn't going to do the parasite much good.
So the parasite has to fix that. How?
Mind control. This is where it gets really creepy. Like Ka from the Jungle Book, but arguably weirder. The parasite forces the snail to change its fundamental behavior.
It makes it go out in the sun.
Yes. It compels the snail to abandon its natural instinct to hide in the dark and damp. It forces it to crawl upwards, often high up on plants, into the bright sunlight. And then it just waits there.
Exposed. And does it stop moving?
Often, yeah. It becomes a stationary, flashing beacon, perfectly positioned for a bird to spot it against the leaves or the sky.
How on earth does it do that? How does the parasite control the snail's brain?
That's still a bit of a mystery, honestly. Scientists don't know the exact mechanism. What's really baffling is that the parasite itself doesn't seem to have any way to sense light. No eyes, no photoreceptors we know of.
But it only does the pulsing dance during the day.
Yeah.
And forces the snail out only in daylight.
Correct. It somehow synchronizes its manipulation with the day-night cycle without apparently being able to detect it directly. It's one of the big puzzles.
Any theories? Chemical signals.
That's the leading idea. Probably involves hijacking the snail's nervous system, maybe releasing chemicals that mimic the snail's own neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine, but in a way that overrides its basic survival programming.
Essentially reprogramming the snail to want to be exposed in the daytime.
Pretty much. Forcing it to act against every fiber of its being just to become bird food.
And eventually, a bird does spot this irresistible, wriggling caterpillar.
It happens. The bird swoops down, sees the display, and pecks out the infected eye stalk. Because the snail is often high up and maybe even paralyzed by the parasite, it's an easy target.
And that's it. The parasite gets eaten, moves into the bird.
Mission accomplished for the parasite. Once inside the bird, the definitive host, the larvae, mature into adult worms. We call the adult stage dystoma. They anchor themselves to the bird's gut lining, and conveniently, they're hermaphrodites.
Meaning any two worms can reproduce.
Or even one, potentially, though cross-fertilization is common. It just makes reproduction much easier. About 2 weeks later, they start producing eggs.
Which get passed out in the bird's droppings.
And the whole cycle is ready to begin again when another unlucky snail comes along.
We should probably talk about the snail's fate here. I mean, it gets its eye stalk ripped out. Is it game over for the snail?
Often it's blinded by that point, definitely. The stretching and manipulation probably destroy the actual eye, but the story isn't always over.
What do you mean?
There's this really grim, almost cruel twist. If the bird only eats the eye stalk and doesn't damage the rest of the snail too badly,
The snail can survive.
it can. And snails have remarkable regenerative abilities. It can actually regrow the lost eye stalk.
It regrows its eye.
It regrows the stalk. And remember how the parasite suppressed its reproduction? That effect can wear off once the main brood sac is gone, so the snail's fertility might return.
Oh, no. So it recovers, potentially regrows its eye stalk, gets its reproductive system back online, only to be perfectly vulnerable again.
Exactly. Ready to encounter another pile of infected bird droppings and start the nightmare all over again? It can be a recurring horror.
Wow. That highlights just how vulnerable the intermediate host is in these complex life cycles.
It really does. And this kind of behavioral manipulation, the zombification, it's not unique to Leucochloridium. It's a strategy other parasites use too.
You mentioned other flatworms.
Yeah, there are some striking parallels. Think about Acanthocephalus jacksoni. It's another flatworm, but it infects small crustaceans, which are then eaten by killifish. Inside the fish, the parasite changes the fish's behavior. It makes it swim closer to the surface, act more recklessly.
Making it easier for birds to catch them.
Exactly. Studies suggest it makes them up to 30 times more likely to be eaten by water birds, which are that parasite's final host. Same principle. Manipulate the intermediate host to get eaten by the final host.
And there was another one, affecting frogs.
Right, Roya ondodre. That one's really nasty. It infects tadpoles and seems to interfere with their limb development. You end up with frogs with missing legs or extra non-functional legs.
Which makes them easy targets for predators.
Precisely. It handicaps the host, making transmission to the next host, often a heron or other wading bird, almost guaranteed. It's all about overcoming the host's natural defenses and survival instincts.
Okay, this is all fascinatingly gruesome. But before listeners start nervously checking their own eyes.
Haha, right, good point. We should definitely reassure everyone. These parasites are incredibly host-specific. Leucochloridium paradoxum has evolved over millions of years to target cyclini snails and passerine birds. It simply cannot infect humans. Our physiology is completely wrong for it.
So our eyeballs are safe from becoming psychedelic disco lures.
Perfectly safe. No need to worry about that.
Good to know. So recapping this deep dive, it's just an astonishing display of evolutionary strategy. Aggressive mimicry, hijacking energy systems, precise mind control. It's this perfect, albeit terrifying storm of manipulation, turning a shy nocturnal snail into a brightly flashing daytime sacrifice.
It really is a masterclass in parasitic engineering. It leverages the host's own biology, the thin eyestalk tissue, the basic drive to eat against itself. That 80 pulse per minute rhythm, the forced march into sunlight, it's all perfectly tuned. And that actually leads to a really interesting final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We know the amber snail can regenerate its eyestalks. It can survive this, sometimes repeatedly. It endures this profound manipulation, this trauma. So the question is, does the snail ever learn? Does its capacity for adaptation, for learning from experience, ever kick in? Can it figure out, okay, crawling into sunlight when my eyestalk feels weird means something terrible happens? Or is its instinct, its basic programming, so easily overridden by the parasite that it's just doomed to repeat the cycle forever? Where's the line between innate behavior and the potential to learn, especially under such extreme pressure? It really makes you think about the limits of survival instincts in the face of such targeted manipulation.